Geothermal Collegiate competition. Thanks for tuning in. So we'll be sharing some information, just overall information about the competition and competing. And Kelly, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Before jumping in, so I'm Rebecca Mitchell. I'm from NREL. I'm the lead on and the NREL team on putting on this competition. And before we jump further into the webinar, just a little bit of housekeeping. So we're recording this webinar and we're going to make this available along with the slides on HeroX after this is over. There'll be a little bit of a delay as we get the transcript up, but this will be going up on HeroX in the next few days. So a few different options for listening on audio. And just for our other speakers, reminder to mute yourself until you're presenting. If you'd like to ask a question during the presentation, feel free to put your questions in the chat. So you can select the chat button at the bottom of the screen and type in your question. We'll be answering some of those throughout the presentation, and then we'll also have some time at the end for Q&A where you can put more questions in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask questions. And then if you're having any technical difficulties, you can contact Zoom support with hearing or seeing the slides, and feel free to put it in the chat if there are any issues with hearing or seeing the presentation. All right, we can go ahead to the next slide. So at this point, I'll go ahead and hand it off to Kelly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly McGregor, and I'm the communications lead at the National Renewable Energy Lab for the Geothermal Collegiate competition. So this is a little bit of legalese that we need to read, but the Geothermal Collegiate competition is organized by the U.S. Department of Energy and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. NREL is operated by the Alliance for Sustainable Energy, LLC. Funding is provided by the Geothermal Technologies Office at DOE, and the views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the views of DOE or the U.S. government. We have some exciting news that's actually kind of hot off the presses, and that's that the Geothermal Collegiate competition is now part of the American Made program. We can put the American Made link in the chat in a little bit if you're not familiar with it, but it's a DOE initiative that has tons of prizes and competitions kind of across all spheres of renewable energy. So we're really excited to be part of the American Made network this year. So that's a big change for us. Oh, sorry. Okay, we have a little jump there. So I'm going to help introduce the team on both the DOE side and the NREL side. So at DOE, our fearless leader is Elizabeth Metcalf. She's not able to join us today, but she is with the Geothermal Technologies Office. We also have Andy Adams, who's on the line, and Corinne Tosca, who are on the DOE side. And then at NREL, we have Rebecca Mitchell, Stephanie Davalos Elizondo, Daniel Zimney Schmidt, Diana Cara Allard, and me, Kelly McGregor. So you'll be hearing from a lot of us today, and you may see us in different webinars or emails. So we just wanted to kind of show you who the whole team was that is on the organizing side. And I'm just going to, I think we're getting a little sound in the background. So if anybody is off of mute, just a reminder to please mute yourself. So we are going to start off, we kind of introduced ourselves really quickly there with our slide, but we would love to know a little bit more about you before we dive into the competition particulars. So we're going to start with something that's called Poll Everywhere. It's going to take me a minute to pull that up, but you can right now go to either pollev.com/NRELComms, or you can use your camera app to use the QR code. That'll take you to a web page that will let you use the Poll Everywhere software. You can also join by text, but I do think it's better in the browser. And basically, we're just going to ask you some questions about where you're calling in from, what your field of study is, things like that. So if you'll give me just a second, I'm going to switch over to sharing that software. Okay, are you guys all seeing a map of the world? And again, it's pollev.com/NRELComms. It shows you kind of up here how to log in, or the QR code. So just put a little pin of where you're calling from today. And I know the US map is a little small, so it doesn't have to be exactly where you are. Great. Okay, seeing a lot of US folks today, which makes sense with our eligibility requirements that Rebecca will get into in a bit. Oh, I think someone's calling from over in Asia. I can't tell exactly where since my map is small.
Sorry, can I speak now?
Sure, yeah, where are you calling from?
Yeah, I will open my camera. Actually, I'm in Texas, but I come from China, and maybe I opened my VPN or something wrong with the Wi-Fi, so it showed that I was in. Yeah, sorry.
No worries, that's awesome. I love that. That's
Okay,
great.
thanks. So let's continue.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, moving on to the next one. We'd just like to get to know people who are on the call. So have you participated in the geothermal collegiate competition before? So this one is kind of multiple choice. Yes, as a student, yes, as a faculty advisor, or no. And you should be able to be seeing the results live. Oh, so we got, I think, one yes as a student, mostly no, so mostly new folks. Welcome. Well, yes, as a faculty advisor, welcome back. Oh, awesome. Well, it's looking like most folks are new, so welcome and thank you for joining us today. We'll give you all the information you need to start kind of from the ground up. All right, next question. What best describes your team role? So if you are going to form a team, or if you might be thinking about it, are you an undergraduate student, graduate student, or faculty advisor? Nice. 50% of respondents, graduate students. Got some faculty advisors and some undergraduates. That's a great split today. Awesome. Next question. I'm going to move it just kind of quickly so we can get to our meat of our slides. This one is a little different. It's not multiple choice. You'll actually type in your answer on the screen. So what is your major or field of study if you're a student, or what's your area of expertise if you're a faculty joining us? Economics. Awesome. That sounds like that's really good for our new policy track. Architecture, engineering, and business management, mechanical engineering, earth and climate sciences. Cool. Yeah. Oh, great. It's a great variety. Advanced thermal systems. Love that. Oh, energy and earth resources and public affairs. Yeah, this is a really multidisciplinary competition, and we find that the teams that are interdisciplinary do really well because there's kind of sometimes technical requirements, economics, public engagement. So this is great. This one is a little bit selfish on our parts, but we were just wondering if you can share how you heard about this webinar so that we can do a better job of contacting folks for the next competition, and so we can know how people like to hear about things. Let's see the responses. Okay, yeah, GTO DOE email, absolutely. Sounds like from professors and other students, and from HeroX itself. Great. 40% from a professor, absolutely. Great. And we know a lot of professors will also integrate this into their classes sometime. It tends to go really well with some of the requirements they already have. And if you did answer other on that one, you can put that in the chat if you think that would help us run a better competition. And this is our last question. And maybe you don't know much about geothermal energy yet, or maybe you're a geothermal pro, but what interests you about geothermal energy or renewable energy in general, if you're not familiar with geothermal? Sustainable, yeah. And this one you can do a fun upvote on. So if you see those thumbs up, thumbs down, if you really agree with something someone else said, you can hit the thumbs up and you can agree with that. Most times people don't do the thumbs down, but if you disagree with one, I guess you could do that. Yeah, zero carbon. Interesting, yeah. Achieving carbon net zero goals is coming to the top. Great. Awesome. It's found in very cool and beautiful places. Oh, I like that, yeah. Building a more sustainable future. Let's see what's at our top. Yep, achieving carbon net zero goals. Well, great. I am going to again take one moment. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Thanks for participating in our poll. We just like to get to know you better. And Stephanie, once I get the slides back up, is going to talk just 2 slides about what is geothermal energy in case there's folks here that aren't familiar.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I'm going to introduce myself by the time. Yeah, so my name is Stephanie Davalos, and I'm a geologist working as a researcher at NREL. My background is in exploration and geothermal assessment of geothermal resources. Yeah.
And
So,
Stephanie, just going to say, Stephanie actually competed in this competition when she was a student. So now she's helping to lead it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, well, let's explain what is geothermal. Maybe most of you already know. Yeah, but geothermal comes from the word for the prefix derived from the Greek, geo, that means earth, and thermal heat. So basically, geothermal is the heat from the earth. So geothermal is a renewable energy heat source that it comes from the subsurface of the earth. So let me just talk a little bit more about the benefits of geothermal. So next slide, please. So yeah, so as I already mentioned, it's a renewable energy, so we can generate electricity with the geothermal source from the subsurface. So basically, most of the geothermal plants are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's one of the benefits of these geothermal plants. So also increase the grid reliability and security. Most of the geothermal plants around the world are still running after 50 years. Lardero was the first one, and it has more than 100 years in operation. So another benefit is that geothermal is clean. Geothermal emissions are as low as the solar, wind, and hydropower. And other benefit of geothermal energy is not that it's not only for power generation. It's also you can use direct uses for this one as using the heat to heat buildings. And also create like greenhouses and other applications. Yeah. So I'm gonna give the word to Kelly.
Thanks, Stephanie. So Rebecca's going to dive more into the competition particulars in a bit, but I did want to just highlight on this last slide that Stephanie was on. The kind of the whole right half is about geothermal electricity generation, and that's not what this competition is about. So if you saw that and were a little overwhelmed, that's not what the Geothermal Collegiate competition addresses. Really, this competition is looking for creative concepts that leverage it for heating and cooling buildings, campuses, district, tribal areas. And so we'll talk about that more a little bit later. It is a conceptual only competition, although there is a stakeholder engagement event piece that we'll talk about as well. But pictured here on the slide is actually the winning team from last year getting ready for their community event. So I just wanted to let you know it's mostly about the heating and cooling buildings and districts. I've got 2 slides. They're a brief history. This one has a lot of text, I know, but the important part of this slide is that this program is funded by the Geothermal Technologies Office at DOE, as I've said. And this is just a little bit about their goals, their objectives, their mission, and where this competition falls in that. And so you can see in the objectives number 3, GTO really is driven to improve education and outreach about geothermal energy. And so that's where this competition falls, as well as creating a skilled geothermal workforce. So this is one of the tools in GTO's tool belt for both education and outreach, as well as workforce development. This competition has been around since 2011, so not too new anymore. I think 12th or 13th year. There's been a few skips in there, and there's about 17 different national labs. And so we've all kind of shared the running of the competition in partnership with DOE. So it started at NREL back in 2011, then Oak Ridge Institute for Science Education took over for a few years, Idaho National Lab as well, and then it's been back at NREL since fall of 2020. And so we are thrilled to run it this year. And I think it's the first year that we have 2 separate tracks. So I'll pass it over to Rebecca to talk about what's new this year.
Thanks, Kelly. So getting into what the Geothermal Collegiate competition is going to look like this year. So the goal of this is to invite teams from collegiate institutions to develop real-world geothermal solutions and then compete for prizes, and then gain some experience that you can put on your resume that'll help you in getting, career paths in the renewable energy industry. So we can go to the next slide. So some benefits to competing in this competition. You're going to gain hands-on experience in the renewable energy industry. So this is something that'll look great on your resume for future job opportunities. It's a way to engage with industry mentors. So something new about this competition is that we're introducing mentors, which are experts from the geothermal industry that we're pairing with teams. So some interfacing with those who are in the industry to learn more about that. You'll get to collaborate with students from other disciplines. So we're really encouraging teams to be multidisciplinary. So getting to know and then interacting with students from different areas, which is very relevant in the sustainable energy industry. There's a lot of people from different backgrounds. Teams can have students from multiple collegiate institutions. So this allows you you can work remotely to get to know students from other teams and other communities. It's a way to engage with your local communities. So in selecting a site and with the winning teams putting on a stakeholder engagement event, you get to learn more about your community and the stakeholders in your community and understand how to integrate sustainable energy solutions into those communities. And then we'll be promoting the first and second place teams nationally. So NREL will provide coverage with sending information out in social media and photography and things like that to try to elevate and bring visibility to your teams. And of course, money, right? So the winning teams there's a total top prize of $32,000 that'll be split between the first and second place winners of each of the two tracks. So a total of 4 teams will receive funds for winning the competition. I can go to the next slide.
Hey, Rebecca, there was
Yeah.
a question in the chat for this
Yeah.
last,
Mhm.
for the last slide. Are there limitations on the faculty advisor? Can they have more than one? And will industry mentors be assigned by NREL?
Yes, so industry mentors will be assigned by NREL, and we don't have any restrictions on how many faculty advisors can be supporting a team. So you're welcome to have as many advisors are willing to help support you on the competition. All right, so getting into the fall competition. So as I mentioned, this year we're going to have, or as Kelly mentioned, we'll have 2 tracks for this year's competition, a technical track and a policy track. So this is new from the competition last year, is the policy track. Last year it was more of the technical track. And the first place prize winners for each track will win $10,000. The second place prize, or the second place teams will win $6,000. Final deliverables will be due in December. And we have an optional progress submission due in October where you can submit part of your deliverables and get some feedback before submitting your final product to make it the best that it can be. So go to the next slide. So both the technical and policy tracks will require these deliverables listed here as part of the core submission. So there will be an overview presentation. This includes basic team information, a summary slide that gives an overview of your entire project, and then a presentation video. And there's more information on all of these deliverables in the rules document. So if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to read the rules document because there's a lot of detailed information on what's required on each of these. And the core deliverables that will be required from each track is going to be a site identification, so picking a local site, and then also a plan for a stakeholder engagement strategy report and the event plan. And we'll share more about those 2 elements later in the webinar. Go to the next slide. Okay, so the technical track, in this, teams are going to present a qualitative justification of deploying a geothermal district heating and cooling, or GDHC system, in a district of their choice, so community or campus, and then a conceptual design of the geothermal system based on community needs, available resources, and benefits to community. And so the technical track is focused more on kind of the engineering or scientific aspects of this. So the deliverables of this are going to be a geothermal resource assessment, understanding what's really feasible to implement in that environment, and then the engineering and system design assessment. So this is similar to the how deliverables required in competition in the past. And then if we go to the next slide, and the policy track is the new track for this year. So the goal of this is to make the competition more accessible to different disciplines that maybe go outside of STEM field specifically and get more into like the policy, economics, regulatory aspects of installing these systems. So in this track, teams will present a qualitative justification for deploying a GDHC system, similar to the technical track, but then looking more at the regulatory environment and the financial incentives and economic assessment. So the deliverables specific to this track will be a permitting assessment and then economic and financial incentives assessment. And to help with you putting both of these together, at the end of this, we'll share some resources with you that'll help you get started on how to go about creating these things. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So this is an overview of all the competition dates. The registration is now open, so you can sign up at any time. That opened on August 1st. And the registration to receive a mentor assignment is September 13th. So if you'd like your team to be assigned a mentor, make sure to register on HeroX by that date. And fill out the registration form. On October 4th is our final registration deadline. So you need to register by that date at the latest to be eligible to compete in the competition. And then, as I mentioned, there'll be an optional progress submission deadline. That'll be the end of October, October 25th. And then we'll get you feedback on that by November 8th. And then the final submission deadline for all the deliverables is going to be December 20th. So then we'll be announcing the winners closer to the end of January, January 24th. And then the first place teams will have until the end of June to conduct a stakeholder event. So each team through the competition deliverables is required to provide a plan for a local community stakeholder event. And the first place teams will actually be able to put that event on, and we'll provide funds to do that. All right, go to the next slide. So this is just kind of the competition at a glance. So if you're maybe wondering if you have the bandwidth this semester to compete in this competition, this slide just kind of shows the bare bones of what you will be required to do to compete in the competition. So you definitely need to register by October 4th at the latest, and then submit the final competition deliverables by December 20th. And this includes cumulatively 12 pages of submission documents across the different deliverables, a 10-slide PowerPoint presentation describing the planned stakeholder event, and a single project summary slide and presentation video are all the things you'll be need to submitting on that December 20th deadline. And additionally, the teams who win first place in both track must be available to host a stakeholder engagement event by the end of June of 2024. So just know that if you are one of the winners of the competition, you'll be expected to be putting on that event sometime in the spring or early summer. Our estimated time commitment for this, we recommend that teams meet or communicate at least once a week. And we estimate like probably the total hours of this is going to be something like 48 hours per week from October to December. That might vary from week to week. We expect maybe teams will be putting in maybe, waiting more work maybe for closer to the submission deadlines and things like that, but roughly that's what we expect it would even out to in terms of the workload to take on this competition. All right, go to the next slide. So a bit about eligibility. If you're wondering whether you're eligible to compete in this competition, teams must have at least 3 participating students. So when you sign up with your registration form, you'll be required to put in the names and emails of at least 3 students that are on your team. All participating students must be enrolled in a collegiate institution, which enrolled being you're at least in one class pursuing a degree. And a collegiate institution we defined as any post-secondary institution. So 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, universities, tribal colleges, all are eligible. And feel free to reach out to us if you have questions on that. Collegiate students of any level are eligible to compete, so undergrad or graduate students. Or as I said, like if you attend one of these 2-year college or tribal college. teams with students from multiple universities are allowed. So if you have students who want to participate on the same team from different institutions, you're welcome to form a team and compete. And multiple teams from a single academic institution may participate. But each student is only eligible to be a member on a single team. So you can't double dip and be competing for multiple teams. You have to be competing with just one team. The team, what we're designating as the team captain and HeroX account holder for the team submission must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. And the reason for that is because this is we need at least one person who we can go through the prize payout process for if in the event that that team wins. And for teams representing non-U.S. based collegiate institutions, the team captain and all team members must be U.S. citizens. All right, we can go to the next slide. So a little more information on eligibility. Teams are encouraged to have at least one faculty advisor, but this is not required for participation. So the faculty advisor is not an official team member and does not count toward the minimum requirement of 3 participating students. So you still need to have at least 3 students on the team, not including your faculty advisor. You're encouraged to build teams that are multidisciplinary so that students from disciplines are able to compete and then contribute to your submissions. And members of an expert reviewer panels, competition administrator staff, and DOE and national laboratory employees are ineligible to compete. Go ahead to the next slide. All right, and at this point, I'll hand it off to Stephanie.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about some of the points that you need to consider when you are selecting or deciding what site you wanna select for this competition. So the site must be in the United States or US territory. In other competitions, we have seen students select campuses as colleges, high schools, or it can be also elementary schools, tribal lands as clinics or other facilities, and municipalities. You need to consider that stakeholders need to be identified when you decide what site you're gonna do the research. Stakeholders engagement is a deliverable requirement, so think about that when you pick the site and the location for this competition. Next slide, please. So for the technical track, so most of the students will work with real world parameters. So you need to identify parameters such as energy load, utility rates, and subsurface data while you design their district use project. Also, input from the community stakeholders so will serve as real-world project constraints and considerations. Some of the concepts the teams develop will provide insights that could inform community stakeholders for future development of direct uses and the district for these geothermal energy resources. So for the policy track, next slide, you need to consider when you are picking the site, is you need to understand the possible federal, state, and local permits approvals. So you need to be clear in that in order to identify and develop the geothermal district heating and cooling in that community campus. Also, itemize cost of this geothermal district heating and cooling. And also the qualitative description of potential environmental impacts in that area when you select the site. Next slide. So for the stakeholder engagement event, so the first place team will hold an in-person stakeholder engagement with relevant stakeholders in the spring or summer of 2024. This event will take place by the end of June when we select the winner. And it's gonna be and should be held at very near of the selected site. So the universities of the team captains from the first place winning team will be given $9,000 for supporting like this stakeholder engagement in person to holding the event. I think I'm gonna pass over Kelly.
Yes. Thank you, Stephanie. Oh, I see Andy coming
Hey,
on.
Kelly, yeah, I'm gonna just hop in here. We had a
Yeah.
couple questions in the chat just regarding the competition focus in general.
Right.
I wanted to address it just before we get going too far. Paul asked why the competition is looking for strictly a GHC application of geothermal energy as opposed to a wider range of potential applications. And I can field that one. I'm not sure if you're referring to GDHC versus power applications, but previous competitions have focused on engineering for geothermal power, and we felt that a focus on GDHC for this competition just felt right. And with the policy track added and the barriers implemented there, we felt like the competition could just flow well with the two tracks. Rick also had a question on policy. Was it limited to the assessments that you listed? That was on a previous slide. No, not necessarily. We are looking for the policy track to look at the regulatory requirements from federal, state, county level, also financial incentives programs, and basically just looking at how to implement a geothermal project, a GDHC project as a whole. You know, what will developers face when trying to implement these types of systems into their communities? That's kind of the focus of the policy track. And if you're interested in some more information, you can refer to the rules document on the HeroX website, and it's got a little bit more explanation there.
Yeah, and the only thing I will just add to that, that was great, Andy, is on the competition topics, I will note that the topics do change every year. So certainly if this is your first year competing, or if you've competed in the past, that's why the topic has changed. And next year it will be something else. So, but that was a great question. Thank you. And thanks for covering those, Andy.
No problem.
And kind of echoing, if we're not sure about the other wider range of potential applications you were mentioning, but if you are talking about thermal storage, that is something that came up at our office hours that we held over the summer. And there is room for you to also include thermal storage in this GDHC project. Basically, you must meet whatever the rules documents have as the required deliverables and components. But if you wanted to add more, you're welcome to do that as well if that aligns better with a course that you're in or something of that sort. Okay. Great. And maybe if someone from the NREL team could throw the HeroX link in the chat. I'm sharing my screen, so I can't do it right now, but that would be helpful. Okay, so Stephanie was talking about the stakeholder engagement events, and so I'm just going to share a little bit more about those because we tend to get questions. So here were our competition winners in the 2022 cycle. First place was University of Oklahoma, Sooners geothermal team. That university actually had 2 teams that year, which is great, and it goes off the eligibility requirements Rebecca was mentioning. You can have 2 teams at your school or more if you'd like. And then our second place winners was University of North Dakota and Reykjavik University. So that's a great one that shows the pairing. You can have multiple schools involved. So these 2 first and second place teams were the ones that were given funding for the stakeholder events last year. And NREL had the honor of kind of going to these events in person. You can see some articles that were written based on these events, and I can put those links in the chat later. I was there in person, and I will just say it was really inspiring because these students did all of this work on paper, spent countless hours, and then they actually got to invite the communities that they worked with to create these projects out. One invited them to campus, one did an event in the community, and it was just really kind of inspiring, I think, for the teams as well, and such a great resume item to say that they kind of hosted a stakeholder engagement event in partnership with the Department of Energy. I know a lot of those students put that on their resume afterwards and found it a really unique part of this competition. So just wanted to share these news articles, and I'll put those links in the chat, as I said, so you can learn more about what they did last year. And then one of the requirements you may have seen were the project summary slides. So this is just an example of the first and second place teams, what their slides look like, because that's a question we often get. The project summary overview slides are not too intimidating. It's really just meant to be, a 2-minute snapshot of what is your project, your goal, your impact, kind of a graphic that shows what you're doing. So this was from the first place team, and they repurposed abandoned oil and gas wells to heat and cool, which was a really interesting angle. And then this was the slide from the second place team, and they were working with the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation, and they developed a system that heated the entire town of Newtown, North Dakota, which was really cool. So that's just a little snapshot of last year, as we often get that question, and I'll pass it over to Rebecca.
Great. So a few more details on the logistics of competing. And this is all laid out in a lot more detail in the rules document. So as we mentioned before, please make sure to read through those rules carefully to understand what's required of each of the deliverables that we'll go through, and everything you need to do to compete and then be able to win the competition. So yeah, step one, read the rules document. Gather your teams of 3 or more students that are enrolled in a collegiate institution, and reminder that team captains must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Make sure to register on HeroX by submitting one registration form per team by September 13th to be assigned a mentor, and then by October 4th to be eligible to compete. And then if you want to get feedback on your project before submitting final deliverables, you can submit an optional progress submission on HeroX by October 25th. And then all teams are required to submit their final submission deliverables on HeroX by December 20th. You can go to the next slide. So what you win if you are one of our first or second place teams in either track, a $10,000 cash prize will go to the first place teams, a $6,000 cash prize to the second place team, national recognition that NREL and DOE will promote, and the first place teams will receive an additional $9,000 in addition to their $10,000 prize funds for hosting the community stakeholder event. And so, one last note there. So cash prizes are going to be paid, instead of paying the institution, we'll be paying prizes directly to the team captain. So make sure that when you're putting information in your registration form, that you're putting in names of at least 2 eligible people that match, your bank account, so that there aren't any issues with the prize payout process down the road. All right, next slide. So to register a team, you can go to the challenge page at this link here that I also posted in the chat on HeroX. Make sure that you choose solve this challenge. So this indicates your interest in competing, and it's not a commitment. You still have to fill out the registration form, but it'll just ensure that you're getting information about the competition. Make sure that you sign in or create a HeroX account, agree to the terms of use, confirm your email address, accept the challenge specific agreement, and indicate, would you like to compete as a team? So then there'll be different options. Yes, I want to create my own team with email addresses of invited team members, or yes, I want to join a team, or no, I want to compete individually. And then you can create or join other teams later if you don't have your team fully set at that point. And then you will form a team with one designated team captain that must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. And then the team captain is responsible to fill out the GCC registration form. So we only need one registration form submitted per team, submitted by the team captain. You can go to the next slide. Our progress submission. So again, this is an optional component of this. This is due October 25th. So competing teams can submit this in HeroX and get feedback on some of the, so not all of the required final deliverables, but some of them, and they have less extensive requirements than the final deliverables, so not quite as long as the documents that you'll be submitting for the final, and there's more information about this in the rules document that you can read about, but it'll include preliminary versions of the core submission materials, the site identification, the stakeholder engagement strategy. And in the technical track, you can submit your initial geothermal resource assessment. Your policy track, you'll submit your initial permitting assessment and then get some feedback on those elements. We can go to the next slide. And then the final submission required for all teams due December 20th. So you have to get these in by the deadline if you want to be eligible to win prizes. Also will be submitted into HeroX in a final deliverable package. And this will include the overview presentation, so all your team information, the summary slide that Kelly was showing some examples of, and then a presentation video. And then the core submission, so your final versions of the site identification, the stakeholder engagement strategy, and then all your required final deliverables for each of the 2 tracks. So the technical track includes your finalized geothermal resource assessment, and then your engineering and system design assessment. The policy track, it'll be your permitting assessment, and then economic and financial incentives assessment. Again, all this information about what's required on each of these elements are detailed out in the rules document. All right.
Hey, Rebecca, it looks like we have a question that might be good to address right now in the chat. It's, can you please explain what kind of feedback we'll be receiving for optional deliverables? Will it be a yes, no of some sort of detailed feedback regarding the topic?
And that's something, Kelly, if you have, so this is actually my first year with the competition.
Yeah,
Kelly, do you have an idea of what was submitted last year?
Yep, I can address that. So it's not a yes, no. Basically, certain organizers will review it and will give you actual feedback on what you have submitted, but not a line by line edit. So it's not a red line or anything like that. We'll look at each deliverable and we might say, have you considered the community impact part of this? Did you maybe miss a group of stakeholders that you should consider? That's just for the stakeholder engagement strategy part. Or if it's on the technical side, it might be a general piece of advice like, have you looked at this? So it's a little bit more than a yes or no, but it's not like line by line detailed feedback. And it's really just to help you know, are you on track? Have you missed a big part of the rules? And I would say that's the biggest thing is a great reason to submit is in case maybe, the rules are like 40 pages long. Maybe you missed a piece of it. This is an opportunity for the organizers to say, hey, check page 5 of the rules. We think that you maybe you reached that component of it. So it's a nice double check to make sure you're on the right track.
All right, we can go ahead to the next slide. Okay, and so once you submit your final deliverables, you will be scored by judges. So we'll assemble a panel of judges, multidisciplinary judges, and subject matter experts who will do scoring of each element. And the scoring system, again, this is described more detail in the rules, but they'll evaluate each section of the final deliverable package using a scale from 1 to 6 for agreement or disagreement with the evaluation statements. So it'll look similar to this. We can go to the next slide. And how that process works is judges will review the final entries. And then after they do this scoring, they'll get these results. Let's see. So the statements have equal weight, so it is critical that teams successfully complete each component of the final entry. So there's no weighting one deliverable more than the other. So each of these are equally important in the final submission. And then the scores from an individual judge is a sum total of the scores for all the evaluation statements. And then the scores are going to be averaged for a preliminary score for each submission. And then we can go to the next slide. And so after the scores are assembled from all the judges, this will give a preliminary ranking of all the teams. Then the judging panel will come together to review all the rankings and discuss and agree on final scores, and then recommend winners of the competition to DOE, Department of Energy. And then the final scores for each submission will give the basis for DOE to determine the winners. So first and second place prizes will then be awarded by DOE that makes those final determinations. Okay, we can go to the next slide. All right, and so just the last bit of this webinar is Stephanie is going to share about some educational resources to help get you started on this.
There
Thank
is
you,
one
Rebecca.
question, sorry, in the chat about the judges. So I thought that might be good if we can just stop and address it now. Let me just go backwards in the slides. The question is, will the judges be experts in GHP since this is a GHP competition? I don't know if anyone wants to take that one.
Yeah, I can chime in. Generally speaking, we align the judges' expertise with the competition. So they may be GHP experts, but they may also be experts in district heating and cooling systems, specifically for geothermal. So there's a couple of different expert pools that we may pull. Also, we've been talking about including geothermal policy judges as well for the policy track. So the judges have not been determined, but that is certainly something that we consider when selecting judges.
And we get this question across kind of all the competitions that NREL helps administer, but to be clear, this organizer team, will not be the judges. We are here to help run the competition, make sure it's a fair competition, but none of the folks on this call today will be the judging the final work. So just want to make sure everybody knows that. Okay, back to Stephanie. Sorry, Stephanie.
No, thank you, Kay. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit of educational resources. Let's go to the next slide. So the first one is some videos resources on HeroX. So basically, you can also find these videos in YouTube that talk about like the Geothermal Collegiate competition, and also gives you like an overview of what's geothermal energy, some of the basics there. So basically, yeah, you can go and search for some of these like titles, and you can find some of the videos if you want to know a little bit more about the Geothermal College competition and some also geothermal basics. So next slide, please. So basically, this is a GeoVision report that the Geothermal Technology Office initiated to evaluate the potential for geothermal energy to contribute to American energy future. If you want to know a little bit more about like the future of geothermal, the challenges, I would recommend to go and check this GeoVision report. It's gonna give you a lot of information related with the geothermal challenges future for US. It details research efforts to explore opportunities for increased geothermal deployment and the pathways that we need to overcome related with technical and non-technical barriers to such deployments. So next slide, please. So the geothermal data repository, this is a submission point for all data collected from research funded by the US Department of Energy. And you're gonna find here more than 1,000 data sets related with geothermal resources. I will recommend if you want to understand a little bit more about district heating and cooling, you can also always like search go to the geothermal data repository website, search for geothermal district heating and cooling, and you can find some resources there and research there related with that topic. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are some tools that the National Renewable Energy Lab developed that can be like also useful for your technical policy track. In this case, the geo report, I think is gonna be more related with the technical track. So this tool, it's a reporting technique system. So it's a resource and project assessment tool used to measure potential and guide development in geothermal sector. So also it has the RSAT module for this geo report tool allows users to make early stages estimates of the size of a geothermal project from user input resource information. So you can basically have like an estimation of the resources using different methodologies as volumetric heat in place method, etc. That can be useful for the geothermal resource assessment for the technical track. So next slide, please. So the GeoFires is a free and open source geothermal techno-economic simulator. So that combines reservoir, wellbore, surface plant, and economic models to estimate the capital and operation and maintenance costs, instantaneous and lifetime energy production. So I will definitely recommend GeoFires also if you want like to use this for the policy or also for the technical track to understand the techno-economics of your specific project. Next slide, please. And the rapid tool, I think this is going to be very useful for the policy track. This tool is a regulatory and permitting information desktop. So it can give you information about federal, state, and local permitting and regulations for utility scale, renewable energy, and transmission projects. And there is like, not just for geothermal, but for other like renewable energies. But in this case, you can use the geothermal toolkit for the policy track. Next slide, please. Okay, so next step. So basically follow the competition on HeroX for updates and recruit your team. That's basically the first step. So register in the HeroX. At least one of the members need to register in HeroX. Read the rules that you have available there in that platform. So in order to understand all the requirements of this competition, also there is gonna be like some workshops that you can like learn using the HeroX platform and design your solutions for the site that you pick. The first optional deadline is October 25th. And I think we're ready for answer more questions if you have more questions. Thank you so much.
And yeah, I'm just going to stress again, please make sure to follow the competition on this HeroX link to make sure that you're receiving emails about the competition. So do that now if you haven't done that already. And as we mentioned at the beginning of this, so this presentation was recorded. We'll share the slides and the recording within the next few days, so you'll be able to access this.
And we got a question about where will it be posted, and we'll be on that HeroX site. We'll put the link in again, but yeah, it's kind of from this point forward. Thanks, Corinne. Everything runs through this HeroX page. So even if you're on the fence about participating, just click follow. It doesn't and add your email. Just get your email in there because that's how we'll be communicating and posting in the update section. You can also email geo.competition@nrl.gov if you have any trouble or have any questions.
We'll give it a few more. We have a few minutes left of our hour, so we'll just hang on a little longer if anyone else has any other last questions before we end here.
And Stephanie, while we're waiting to see, maybe do you want to share a sentence or two about like why you participated when you were a student and what you got out of the competition?
Yeah, it was I was in the geothermal rising conference when I met like some foxes from the University of Oklahoma there. I was like a PhD in Oklahoma State University, and we started the conversation there, and one of the students from Oklahoma State invited me to participate, and I was like, okay, this is a very good opportunity to collaborate with other students in other universities and doing something in geothermal. So for me, it was like network. It was part of like the reason of like connect with people and do something like interesting, because we were like picking a tribal land. It was a clinic facility in Oklahoma. So, and that was very attractive also for me, like in that aspect. So to be able to maybe help those communities to be in the transition of renewable energies. Yeah. So that was basically one of the motivations.
Speaking of the Geothermal Rising Conference, the Geothermal Collegiate Competition will have a booth there at the upcoming conference in Reno the first week of October. And I think Kelly will be at that, manning that booth. So you can come say hi if you plan on being at that conference.
I don't know if we already answered the question about if this recording will be posted or will be shared.
Yep, it will be. It'll be on that HeroX page. I can actually share my screen really quickly. Hold on. There's basically an updates tab on the HeroX page, and that's where it'll live. Let me just pull it up quickly. And then that's a great way to share with colleagues or students who couldn't make it. And if you do hit that follow on the competition, then it'll give you a little email ping when that is updated. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so you should be seeing the HeroX page. This is my view. I'm an administrator, so there's might be slightly different than your view. But for you, there should be like a follow button up here, and it might say solve this competition here. And then down here is the updates tab. And so you can see we linked today's webinar, but this is where there'll be an update that will link to the recording of today's talk, as well as the PDF of the slides. And then this resources tab. Hopefully you're seeing my screen. I can't actually tell in Zoom. This resources tab is where there's a lot of great information. There's an infographic to get you started. Some of these are recordings. And then, of course, the rules that we've referenced a lot of times today live under resources. So this is where to go.
Well, that about brings us to the end of our hour. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And yeah, so for any faculty on the call, please be sure to encourage your students to sign up and compete.